Thank you, Colleen and Wes, for organizing this panel. We are very honored to be part of this group of amazing people. Our talk is going to be about our work, the Collaborative Language Planning Project, CLPP for short. This project aims to increase Indigenous participation in language science through networking with the tribal colleges in Montana. But upfront, we must say that it is not an easy task to increase the Indigenous participation in this field, and it needs a long-term commitment in teamwork with like-minded members. In this presentation, we'd like to share the brief history of our team project as well as our findings. First, we'd like to introduce ourselves. Following the photos from the left, Richard Littlebear, the president of Chief Dull Knife College in Lame Deer on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation in the southeast part of Montana. Susan Penfield, a linguistic anthropologist and language revitalizationist. And myself, Mizuki Miyashita, a professor of linguistics at the University of Montana. The University of Montana is located on the indigenous land of Salish and Kalispel people, and it is acknowledged that they have always shown us the ways to care for this place for the generations to come. CLPP began while we prepared for the Institute on Collaborative Language Research, COLANG, which the three of us are the co-hosts for in 2022. Since the goals of COLANG involve increased inclusion of Indigenous perspectives and participation, CLPP was developed to learn about the needs of the local communities. It all started from learning about ourselves, from talking to each other. We always find this team very interesting as we all come from different backgrounds and training experiences. I was born and raised in Japan and moved to the States to receive college education as an international student. I discovered that linguistics was what I wanted to study. Understanding how language is structured was fascinating to me. I was trained in linguistics at the University of Arizona in the 90s, when the graduate courses were mainly focused on generative theory, but working with Tohono O'odham, an indigenous language in Arizona, attending American Indian Language Development Institute, or ALDI, and meeting indigenous language teachers, I sensed and questioned my training, whether it would directly help the communities. Pursuing a career as a professor at the University of Montana, I began working with the Blackfoot-speaking communities with support from the late Daryl Kipp, the co-founder of the Pigan Institute. I have been searching for solutions regarding conducting linguistics research that also helps communities' language work.
Hi, my name is Susan Penfield. I'm a linguistic anthropologist and have been privileged to work with many Indigenous communities in language documentation and grant writing since the 1970s. From 1970 to 1980, roughly, I collected recordings of the Mojave language while living and working with the Colorado River Indian tribes in Arizona. In the 1990s, this work, the earlier work, led to an opportunity to work with many other communities as I was invited to teach at ALDI, the American Indian Language Development Institute, through the 90s and into the early 2000s. In 2017, I was fortunate to receive an NEH fellowship, which allowed me to work on ethics training and research and Native American concerns. In 2008 through 11, as I began to get more active in grant writing to support language documentation work, I was given an opportunity to serve as the Documenting Endangered Languages, then DEL program officer for the National Science Foundation. From 2013, when I retired, to the present, I continue to work sometimes for the University of Arizona, mostly for the University of Montana, and I continue to support Indigenous communities when asked through grant writing and consulting about language reclamation.
Hi, my name is Richard Littlebear, and I grew up speaking the Northern Cheyenne language. Back in the 1970s, I was a federal programs director. Back then, I was also against teaching the Cheyenne language and other indigenous languages because the successful people I knew were all English speakers. But later, I was involved in developing a bilingual education program. Then I had to learn the language benefits of both. I also researched the Cheyenne language status and why the speaker declination occurred. During that period, I shifted my view toward my own language and became a language activist, learned how to read and write Cheyenne, and taught the Cheyenne language. I also learned that linguists analyze the language, but they did not help people learn the language. I also attended linguistic conferences where they were talking about my language in a way that I did not understand. I felt that linguists were misdirected in their training. Languages, indigenous languages, are highly endangered. If our languages disappear, the linguists are not going to have anything to study. They should help save our languages instead. First, I was teaching the Cheyenne language in the way I was taught English, and I was losing my students. Then I attended a total physical response workshop at Boise State University in Idaho. That changed my teaching style, and I have been an advocate of total physical response for the Cheyenne and other indigenous languages. Since I became the president of Chief Yellowknife College in 1999, my teaching time got somewhat limited, but I continue to work with language revitalization and support Cheyenne language teachers by providing them training. I have also seen what the linguist training can do by working with non-indigenous linguists. They help the language teachers, many of whom are not trained teachers. The paths of our experiences with language revitalization are different, but we share the similar views. Language research results must be beneficial to the lives of Indigenous community members. The research results are used to applied projects for language teaching and learning. Project efforts are best guided by the community. The projects are ideally to be done in collaboration among language teachers, linguists, and other stakeholders. A training venue, such as COLANE, responds to these issues.
However, collaboration is not something that everybody receives training for in a typical institution or by being an Indigenous language speaker or teacher. For example, for non-speaker linguists, knowing just linguistics does not help them become a collaborative researcher. Sometimes they might want to look into applied fields. For non-linguist speakers and teachers, being able to speak a language is not the same as being able to teach it. Well, they might want to obtain various other ways to look at a language, including linguistics. In reality, in Montana, people we would like to recruit rarely know about COLANE or linguistics. The challenge is then how to guide people to COLANE and understand the value of linguistics, or even how to persuade them to step outside of their comfort zone. From our experiences together, we know that to change the situation, We need to meet stakeholders and language workers and listen to their stories. Richard has been providing training opportunities to language teachers and has listened to his community members' needs with regard to training. And we wanted to hear voices across communities beyond Northern Cheyenne, because every community is unique in so many aspects.
We consulted Colin Fitzgerald, who was the officer of the NSF DLI program, formerly the DEL program at that time. And she recommended that we apply for a planning grant collaboratively. And we developed CLPP, CLIP, the Collaborative Language Planning Project. So what is CLIP? The goals are to establish a statewide network among language workers and stakeholders at tribal colleges and universities, or TCUs, in Montana. And exchange knowledge, experience, and ideas regarding language science and language activities conducted in the communities. Increase Indigenous scholars' participation in language science, and perpetuate the inclusion of Native perspectives in research and linguistics training. The location of the state of Montana is shown on this map. There are 7 reservations. Let's use a larger map of Montana. On every reservation, there is 1 tribal college. Richard is at Chieftain Knife College. Susan and I are at the University of Montana around here. And these in blue are the names of languages that represent the communities on the associated reservations in their own languages. The tribal colleges that are participating in CLIP are shown by their logos here. Here is the list of activities conducted so far since the planning grant was awarded. One is an all liaison meeting. Participants are the stakeholders who are affiliated with the CLIP participating TCUs, linguistics faculty and students at the University of Montana, and us, the founding members. This is the core networking venue for exchanging everyone's experiences and concerns toward language revitalization. This is also a place for brainstorming regarding language courses taught at tribal colleges, teacher training, and linguistics, and collaborative research in language science. The picture shown on the upper right corner is from the second all liaison meeting. In this meeting, Wesley Leonard presented on language reclamation as an invited keynote speaker. The other activities is on-site workshops. We have had 2 so far, one at Chieftain Knife College and the other at Fort Peck Community College. One tribal college hosts a day-long workshop on their land and offers a series of workshops with various topics that meet the community's needs. The CLIP co-founders, the hosting tribal colleges stakeholders, and linguistics faculty members prepare together and facilitate the workshops together. The photo shown on the lower right is taken at the Fort Peck Community College when we had the on-site workshop. There was another on-site workshop scheduled to be held at Stone Child College in April 2020, but it was canceled due to the pandemic. The next 3 meetings were on Zoom, mainly to keep the momentum and to report to each other regarding their language work in this difficult time.
These activities involved many hours of conversations with many participants in various groups. Stories from the tribal college teachers are particularly informative and valuable because they are on the front line of the work at the local level and reflect the actual issues and dealings with their dilemmas. It is common to hear community stakeholders say that they have not produced fluent speakers. In addition, the needs tend to be directly associated with language teaching, such as teacher training in instruction, education, and language teaching methods. The issues are language teachers want students to learn to speak the language. Some teachers are specialized teacher license holders, class 7. They have the knowledge of language and culture, but the education degree is waived. Community stakeholders are often not sure whether linguistics training would help the situation.
This is the evaluation from the on-site workshop at Fort Peck Community College. Topics covered in this on-site workshop were: 1, knowing our students, basically it's a language acquisition, and 2, solving puzzles, it's a morphology, and 3, TPR, 4, learning goals, it's an assessment, 5, lesson plans, part of curriculum design, and 6, computer and document advantages, and it's about special fonts, and 7 was reflection time, which is for useful evaluation. Out of 13 attendees, 9 evaluations were returned. The evaluations indicated that 5 to 8 thought that workshops were very useful. And note that these include topics involving linguistics training, such as morphology and language acquisition. So according to the evaluation from this on-site workshop, language teachers feel linguistics training is useful, but when it is provided. So it is a matter of having the opportunity reading linguistics.
Meeting with the stakeholders, first we thought we were just witnessing issues of bridging the gap between linguistics and language revitalization, which has long been discussed. What's lacking and what's needed has been discussed over a few decades. This topic mostly raised among outside linguists and rarely comes to the communities. Through CLIP, our preliminary conclusions are the following. On-site activities provide, first, language teachers with opportunities to pick out useful elements in linguistics. Linguists and facilitators gain experience on how to pursue research with Indigenous languages. Project efforts are best guided by the community. Currently, linguistics is a small part of language revitalization efforts, which we hope will become a larger part with more training. Gap filling or bridge building is primarily a perspective of academics, one which could be shared by the community members with more training. We plan to continue CLIP even after COLANG and to develop a sustainable training environment.
And we have a website and Facebook page to promote our project. And also, all our activities are documented in the form of reports and newsletters. We're hoping to circulate this documentation to a wider audience, and this can be found in the repository called ScholarWorks that is managed by the Digital Library at the University of Montana. If you are interested, please visit this repository. Thank you.
And thank you.
ありがとうございました。